Be Frank Network.
Welcome to another episode of H&A. I'm going to slowly transition you guys. I'm dropping Happy Never After, and it's just going to be H&A. Can you move those fucking things?
I'm moving
God,
them. Yeah.
jeez.
I put the pillow in front of me like I'm hiding my pregnancy belly.
I know.
Because I feel very fat. Why just H&A? Are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm happy.
I've heard about the dude.
Yeah, he makes me pretty happy, but I feel like I've grown.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, growing.
It's I feel much more calm, much more centered. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me.
Right.
Yeah, it's really a whole new world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Has this been all brought on because of the pandemic?
The pandemic, I think, okay, so everyone, this is Derek Humphrey.
Oh, hey.
One of my best buds. Okay, yeah, so I had the house, right? We were buying houses at the same time.
Yeah.
And then my house fell through,
Mm-hmm.
and your house did not. And that's why we haven't spoken in months. No, I'm just kidding. And it really kind of changed my whole life, because before I was working nonstop. I'd go either gym, then comedy, or gym, and then to bartend.
Mm-hmm.
Zero sleep.
Yeah.
Spiraling.
Yep.
Dating horrible dude after horrible dude.
Yep.
Because I was spiraling, and all to save money and try to have a life and try to follow my dreams to buy a house that ended up crashing anyway. So I was like, oh, here we go.
Right.
But
Yep.
did it even matter?
Right. Yeah.
Nope.
Not one.
Not one minute
iota
of that work.
And now, for me, now that like the entertainment business is slowly coming back,
Yeah.
so is the anxiety.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm having to remember, like, oh, why do I care?
You just can't.
No. Well, the thing with I am a homeowner now. Thank you. I should say my wife is a homeowner, and
You're on the mortgage.
Yeah, I contributed my percent, and I contribute quite a bit of labor.
Okay.
We'll put it that way. It is this thing of like, I remember I thought like maybe 6 months ago, I'm like, man, remember when I was worried about things being cool or not?
Yeah.
Like, oh, is this a cool joke or is this a cool show to do? Now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stand on a unicycle and juggle or whatever I got to do in Times Square to busk for money, because when you have like goals and like material things that you want to pay for
Sustain, yeah.
or have to pay for, who gives a shit?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All that goes right out the window.
It does, yeah. And so I don't know if the pandemic inherently did that for me, because I had a lot of time to think around and to think and be depressed. Like, certainly the onset of more responsibility has
given
me that different perspective.
Yeah. It's you should definitely still be silly and fun and
I'm not at all.
do your jokes. I noticed.
I feel I'm mad. I'm depressed and I'm mad. So like, yeah.
You're mad?
The pandemic hit at the worst time for my career and the best time for my marriage.
Wait a second. So what career are you talking about?
Oh, like comedy?
Oh.
Yeah, comedy wise.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the career of handing out mail. I hand out mail at a large tech company. We'll just put it that way. A large evil tech company. Just kidding.
I'm dating someone in the tech world.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Are they autistic?
I think so.
Yep. It's usually the way. I tell people specifically where I work and they're like, wow, you're smart. I'm like, no, I'm not. I greet people when they walk in the door.
the Walmart of the tech world.
I am, yeah. And I know a lot of people have those jobs, especially in New York and whatnot. And it's not that they're unintelligent people, but it's just that they are often taking those jobs because they're pursuing something else.
Yes.
I've been offered promotions numerous times because I have a corporate background and I turn them down. And my wife encourages me to. She's like, I want you to turn these down because I don't want you to get belabored with a professional career.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to turn into a prick because you're not going to be doing comedy.
Yep.
And then I'm going to hate you. And you're not going to be the guy I married because you're worried about like bringing home the bacon.
Yeah, it's really the balance there.
Yeah.
You definitely have to bring home some bacon.
I do bring home some bacon.
Good. Also, I think for comedians having a day job, and I know this is going to go way outside the commissioner of stand-up comedy's rules for living in a single box within comedy. Fuck you and your rules. There are no rules. This is art.
Yep.
I think having a job, even if it's just a couple hours a day, gets you having momentum and gives you some sort of like fire.
Gives you perspective.
It gives you perspective. And
you can be very out of touch with reality if like,
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
If you're just waking up at 1, smoking pot, writing, and that's...
where's the writing come in? I just wake up and smoke pot, and then I don't anymore, which is the thing that I've had to.
You don't?
No,
Because you gave up drinking and you were just smoking pot.
Yeah.
And now you gave up pot.
Pot, yeah. Jess and I both did. Yeah.
And you're still married.
Still married, yeah. I mean, it was just more of it was like, I may have got ramped up during the pandemic because I was bored. But like now it's just all right. I've hollowed out my brain. I'm 42. I don't need to be into the Grateful Dead.
Oh my God. I was listening to Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And my dad used to always play it. And I was like started listening to the words. You know, when you're like all of a sudden listening to TLC and you're like, wait, what's she fucking to do with an STD? Wait, what?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I was listening to Pink Floyd and it was like, oh, this is a monotonous life, basically. And then I just turned to the boyfriend. I was like, was my dad really sad? Like, what the fuck?
My dad loved Pink Floyd.
The sad people.
Yeah, now he's in a
He's dead,
box
right? Okay,
in
I was
a
like...
garage in Detroit. So of his own doing. So it was. I mean, like it's beautiful music or whatever, but I'm sure it's beautiful for the guys in Pink Floyd who are making it because they're occupied making it. But like the whole visual and audio experience usually is congruent with drugs.
Yeah.
Of that kind of music and whatnot. But
I didn't need drugs for that.
I didn't need
awesome.
them, but they sure did help.
Let's give everybody a reminder of who you are and your marriage.
That's been a while.
Yeah, I know. I will put up. I do have a re-release of you and Karen.
Oh, nice.
I know. So and your past episodes. So I will be putting those up as well. But let's get into you. So you have a dead dad. We covered that.
Yes, we did. Yep.
How did he kick it? How did he kick it?
OD.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not on pot.
No, it turns out you can't. I've been trying. And you can't OD on pot. You can OD on heroin.
Ooh.
And crack.
Oh, both.
Yeah.
Options.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you know him?
Unfortunately. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, he was around. When I was very young, he was somewhat in the picture, and then as like just the years went on, it became more infrequent and stuff. So him and his brother were both bad dudes. So it was like better that they weren't around.
Yeah.
But and I'm very, very fortunate. I have an awesome mom, and she was a single mom for like the first 12 years of my life, and then I got an amazing stepdad.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, I lucked out. I wish my stepdad was my real dad because I would be. My brothers are both like relatively normal, well-adjusted, and they already make more money than I do, and they're 20 years younger. And they're well-rounded, happy people who probably just don't have the penchant desire to be on stage constantly for attention.
For just any sort of validation at all.
Yeah. I'm very envious of them in that regard. So.
I think that's probably why you have healthy relationships with other females, is because you were raised by your mom.
Yeah, I would like to think so.
I made a leap there, but
yeah, my wife would argue that point, but
why? What's her argument?
No, because I make jokes, or
Fucking Jess. No,
I know. I'll make a joke specifically about her. My wife's like not a handy person, you know.
Okay.
She's okay, you know, but I'll make a joke about it in the context of like, you know, her being a gal, and she'd be like, "You're such a sexist, misogynist pig." I'm like, no, this is just applicable to you. Like, I know other women who could do these things and you cannot. It's not about that. It's about you. And I mean, I feel like, but also at the same time, I was still a dude, and like I had a lot to learn about how to talk to, respect, and treat women. And I've had a lot of cool women who have like pulled me to the side and been like, hey, this is like, do this better, or don't do this, or don't be this kind of guy, or whatever the case may be.
They gave you like a lecture and you took it as...
Yeah, advice, you know. I learned how to take off a bra in a TCBY.
Oh.
Like from... like as an instructor, I was the only dude who worked at TCBY. And then all the dudes on the football team would be like, you work at TCBY, you're gay. You're the only dude. And I'm like, oh, is that how that works? I'm surrounded by women. I think it's the opposite, you dum-dums. Enjoy your CTE. Like I worked with these older college girls who went to the college who were there. And like, I knew they were older, more mature. They're totally cool. I knew I never had any shot with them, sort of thing. And I would just they would just talk to me about that sort of shit.
When you're not alarming, like when you're not sending off those signals to women that you are a danger, we are nice and gentle.
Right, yeah.
When you have those rippy vibes, then we our fangs are all out. We're like...
Yeah. I've been talking about this a lot. I really feel like it's like controversial to say nowadays, I guess, but I really feel like guys need dads. Like they need like a...
You're so edgy.
I know. But like, like if I were to have a son, there's so much information I remember I go through this exercise in my head of like, if I could like go back in time and tell 12-year-old me what he should do moving forward in his life to be successful, this is what I would go back in time and do. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what dads are supposed to do.
You're in the future.
Right.
Dad.
Yeah. And so, but it's self-serving because it's like, I want my life to be better, but it's like, well, I want my kid's life to be better if I ever have one.
Okay. But, okay. So you have thought about that.
Yeah.
But that's because you didn't have one. Now, regular dads that are putting in the work are just winging it. You know, they're just doing the best they can.
Some of them. Yeah.
I have a dad, and he really, I could take off piston rings. I know how to drop an engine into a car from a cherry picker. But taxes? No.
Right. Yeah.
Balancing a checkbook? Not a clue.
Right.
Every day I look at my bank account like it's a new surprise.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at all those debits that I did yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like to play credit card roulette myself, and
I do it to myself really hard because I only let myself spend a little bit. I'll put half of my money in my savings, and then the other half we gotta make it work. And
man, that takes so much more discipline. I can't even put 10% in, like, consciously in. I'm like, I want all my money available at all times in case there's something I want. Or it's just like, I gotta pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know,
bills fucking suck.
Yeah. I think if I'd had like a lot of, because I was my mom's size by the time I was like 10 years old. If you're not familiar with me, if you're listening, I'm 6'3", 300 pounds, and a healthy 300. I look like a professional football player. And like, I remember
a young Arnold, some might say.
Some might say. or Arnold from Junior, the movie Junior, where he's pregnant. But there are times where like I didn't know how to approach girls, or like I just like was like weird and had like an odd misplaced view of the world because I didn't have any like familial structure.
Wait, what was your most awkward pickup line?
Oh God, I'm the most awkward encounter I ever had with a girl. I was in Boston with some friends of mine, and I just looked mad and miserable because we were out at, I don't like clubs.
Okay.
And we're out at like, club, and it's like overpriced, watered down drinks. And I'm like trying to like meet girls or whatever, just like hanging out. I just look miserable. My buddy grabbed these two girls, like, hey, you want to meet my buddy? And then they tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and I looked probably like I was going to kill somebody. And the girl grabbed her friend and they ran.
Oh my God.
And my buddy just put his head down, and he was just like, all right, man. And he was a tall black dude and whatnot. And he was like, I guess we're just like we're done.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. And this was when I was like 22. I mean, it wasn't even like I was like a young guy. It was just that by that point, I was in the military. I was off in the world and like learning all this new stuff because I'd never really been outside of Ohio at that point.
Beautiful
like,
Ohio.
Beautiful Ohio. Yeah. So,
gorgeous armpit
yeah.
of the Midwest.
Yeah.
If it's still considered Midwest.
It's a Rust Belt, I guess, is more accurate a term at this point.
It's then it's the FUPA of
yeah, it is. It's the FUPA of the Rust Belt for sure.
Oh God, sorry to my Ohio listeners, you should move.
Yeah.
My most awkward pickup line was to my major crush, and I told him that I didn't have my period yet. So
that's hot. Wait, was this like you didn't have it this month, or like you haven't had it because
I was
you were
17?
Oh, okay,
and I still didn't have it, which is late.
Well, in Upper Michigan,
special.
Yeah, in Upper Michigan at 17, not having I'm surprised there weren't like chariots drawn and like people were fighting in the streets over that.
Yeah, they were like, her hymen, going to the highest bidder. No, my mom was like, just send her out with the goats. She could care the fuck less. At 19, I had to have it like induced, and I was like, oh, this is like a problem. So so that was,
wow.
But that was my major pickup line. I was like, hey, just in case you want to do a little fingering, I can't get pregnant, which I probably thought that was.
Yeah, I mean, if you penetrate whatsoever, you're pregnant.
I was very Catholic.
And then you had it induced, and now you can't put the genie back in.
Now, fucking won't stop.
Yeah. I think my wife is like eagerly awaiting menopause so that she never has to like experience it.
No children?
Not yet.
Yet?
I mean, it's not like we're like seeking like medical assistance or anything like that to facilitate it, but we're not trying.
Oh!
I guess. She might be surprised to hear this. But I mean, that's what I'm thinking every time I don't pull out. And I mean, we're married, whatever.
You're like, we're trying. That's your new.
Yeah. I don't know. I think her factory might be shut down. Who knows for sure.
It's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. There's like sometimes you don't ovulate. It's like a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a pain in the ass.
And she wants a rescue herself. She wants to adopt a child, which I can understand and empathize with.
You're gonna get one that you can just like throw back if you don't like it?
Well,
or?
I'm gonna put him back in his cage at the Humane Society. Or
AKA foster? Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I mean, we talk like that sort of thing, and then we just never do anything with it. It's not like we're really going to go through with doing it. We're both like, I mean, my wife's a teacher. She's a New York City teacher, educator.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like, I mean, the stress of having to deal with that alone and like basically raise other people's children is probably fairly discouraging.
Okay.
Alone.
I'm just going to say that doing acts of service gives you purpose in your life.
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think the benefits may outweigh, but you have to be in the right mindset to bring. I mean, I made a joke earlier about foster kids, but I was about to foster when I bought the house. You have to be ready to take on that amount of trauma.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's real. Talk about perspective.
Right.
I mean, I used to volunteer for Pajama Foundation, which is we would bring pajamas and read books to homeless kids.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids, I'd be like, okay, did you brush your teeth? And they'd just look at me and I'm like, oh, we don't know how to brush your teeth and you're 6.
Oh, man.
So let's go ahead and teach you how to brush your teeth.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you're like, holy. And then you just go home and just bawl. You're like, oh, my God, my life was so much better. And I can't believe I complained even for a fucking second.
I know. It's true. Whenever I meet people like that or I see those stories or whatever, and I'm like, oh, man, I got it so good. I am like the son of a heroin addict born in a single wide trailer in Detroit. My life is fantastic compared to a lot of people. And I think about it too, because I'm like, I try not to be like whiny, or I really actually don't talk about my dad a lot or like that sort of thing. I've been reflecting on it a lot lately, but I often have to look at it from the vantage point of like how fortunate I was to even have what I had.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, because as been evidenced over the last year, it's clear that like so many people have it so much worse.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't invalidate your own feelings about things, and you can't say that you not having a dad doesn't affect you. I think about me not having a mom, even though she's alive and well, but she's not part of my life. Like even last week, I had a little hiccup with a boyfriend, and also a little. I thought that maybe I was pregnant, and then it was not. But I'm not going to get into
gas.
It was gas. McRib is back.
Yeah. I got a meatball parm from McDonald's.
Tooted that baby right out. By Junior. Okay, so some woman claimed that she was dating him. It was like a Instagram DM. Can I go into this?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
no, go for it.
I don't want to bore you, but
no. I'm interested.
Okay, so she sent me
because we've had the same sort of issue. I'm sure.
Yes. So she was like, "Oh, your boyfriend is my boyfriend," and blah blah blah, and sent me a bunch of very vicious, like hateful things, but masked in "let's be girls, and support each other" bullshit.
Oh.
And I was like, your relationship with my current boyfriend in the past is I don't give a fuck about it.
Right.
And I didn't say anything for a long time. I just screenshotted and sent it to him and was like, hey, help me understand what's happening here. And then people that spiral, I'm not saying that, okay, this is not anti-woman. I understand that if you're put in a...
Get 'em.
I understand that if you're put in a gray zone in a relationship, that it can make you spiral. Like if you've ever been ghosted or that, even on that micro level, that can make you go insane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit larger version of that. And so I sent him all of that. And then I had to make a decision if I was going to stay with him or not. And because I have very short fuse for any bullshit anymore. And then at the same time started my bloodbath. And I remember I was in the car. I remember like it was years ago. It was last week. I was in the car on the way home from a hike. See my beautiful Briz. And I was like, I wish I had a mom like for this.
Yeah.
And just bawled all the way home.
Yeah. Two things about this story. I'm fortunate. I talked to my mom a lot. Like she's fielded a lot of questions about like my marriage. I think that my stepdad is the model of like how I kind of operate within my marriage, but like I sometimes talk to my mom about the problems that I have with it. But my mom's perspective on things is so much different than mine that it's like a little bit challenging at times. But I also don't like to bother my stepdad about it because he has 2 kids of his own, and my half brothers, and they have their own issues. And I'm also 42. It's like I should have probably figured some of this crap out by now.
I also don't think that you should think that about him having his 2 own children. That's just you going back into your brain where your dad kind of left you, and so you think that you're not good enough to have your own dad. So I think that you should just get over that, because as a previous stepmom, I would have killed for a really close relationship with all the kids.
I'm pretty close with them. We message back and forth a lot. We're Ohioans. We're not like a phone family.
Yeah.
I mean, like I talk to my mom every couple of weeks on the phone, but we exchange a lot of messages. But like, especially right now, there's nothing
No
going
Big
on.
10 states have any touchy-feeliness.
No, we really don't. My wife is like the opposite ways. My wife's from a small family. I'm from a huge family. I'm one of 22 grandkids.
That's awesome.
I'm the oldest of 22 grandkids. My mom bookended the whole family. She got the oldest and the youngest. And we were all like growing up, we were all like really pretty close. Like 2 of my aunts lived in my neighborhood. My uncle wasn't that far away. And we were all like pretty close knit and everything. And she's not used to that sort of thing. She had a small family, but her family was like, oh, we're very in touch with our emotions and all that sort of crap or whatever. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. We don't. And she'll talk to my mom and she'll be like, yeah, your mom is kind of like stoic is the word that I think that she would most use. And I'm like, yeah, my mom, she wear a lot of emotions on her face. She's a tough woman, She had to raise a monster by herself for the first 12 years. I mean, I was a hard kid to handle.
Why?
Because I didn't have a dad, because I would act out and the times that my dad did show up, he was a dick. And so it was like, I didn't want him there. Mm-hmm. And then when he was there, he was a jerk. And then like, he didn't ever believe, I used to have his babysitter named Tina when I was in like 1st and 2nd grade.
Okay.
Right. And they lived in a trailer. I was babysat in a trailer, and because my mom worked 2nd shift at the hospital.
Okay. Good lady.
Yeah. Her husband was a guy, he was some type of laborer, nothing against that or whatever, named Dave. And Dave used to drink. And they had a daughter. I would play like with their daughter, however, like I really kind of could in this situation. Like, she's got dolls or whatever. Mm-hmm. One day, Dave makes this accusation when he's drunk against me. I'm like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid. His daughter's like 5 years old or something like that. And he says that I said to his daughter, because we were playing with their Barbie dolls, that my penis was bigger than Ken's penis. Right, which is factually true, even at 5 years old.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You weren't wrong then. You weren't wrong now.
Right. But I was like 6. I would have never, if I did say that, it was like probably like a joke. Like,
also,
oh man,
it's something like
even my dick's bigger than this guy's. Like, I mean, I didn't say it. I know for a fact I didn't fucking say it, but he was drunk and like trying to come at me, and his wife had to like hold him back, and I'm like scared shitless. I'm crying. I'm about to piss my fucking pants. And they tell my dad, and my dad believes the drunk guy, and he wouldn't believe his own kid. And I'm like, I don't have a relationship with you, Dad.
That's
like,
when you knew.
Yeah, I'm never going to talk to you, open up to you, or anything like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, I remember when I was a kid, and he was like, what do you want to do when you get older? And I was like, I want to be on Saturday Night Live. And he's like, I just don't see it. You're not like outgoing or whatever. I'm like, that's because I don't like you.
Also, it wasn't that, I mean, that was probably your catalyst to be like, this is it.
Yeah.
But it was the culmination of everything that you had experienced up to that point that made you say, no, I'm done.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so, I mean, I never had that sort of like relationship with him. I never fostered it. I mean, I guess when I got a little bit older, I'd probably talk to him more like an adult, but for the most part, I didn't really give a shit to really like.
Also, what is the point in maintaining that relationship?
He wasn't really interested in me. I could tell. And it was just like he was really trying to stay in my good graces because My grandma, his mom, wanted to see her grandkids, including my half sister and half brother, and he would hold them like hostage and stuff like that because he wanted money from her and always asking for money because he was doing drugs and stuff. And I didn't know this, but he was bleeding her. And so looking back on everything now, my God, man, I wish I could take that boxer, store it in, and throw it in the ocean or something. Although that's a burial, he would, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, there is that sort of distrust that wells up and builds, and it informs a lot of relationships. And it made me like act out irrationally. I wanted attention. Didn't matter if it was good or bad attention. It didn't take me until I was in my late teens, until like I was like 16, 17 and on my fourth high school to be like, all right, dude, chill out. Like, just get through this and then get out, you know?
So that's what made you calm down. But you're still pretty angry?
Oh, sure. I mean, well, it's specific to a few things.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm happy. Listen, the pandemic has shown me that like I was gone too much from my family, meaning my wife and my dog. I was gone, like I was doing the same routine every day that you probably were. You're up earlier than me. Sometimes I wake up to you from a day. You're like text me like 4 in the fucking morning. I'm waking up at 6:30 because I had just gone to bed 5 hours before.
Listen, if I don't text you at 4 a.m., I'm going to forget.
I know, I get it.
That's why it took me so long I was like, I can't believe I keep forgetting to text him about recording.
Oh, yeah, no worries. But yeah, is the thing is like I wake up at 6:30 and then go to work, go do shows or mics or whatever, or hangouts, and then in the city. I wouldn't get back until 1:30 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning. And like, I'm like, I mean, I really overcorrected it in the last year by being constantly around my wife. But it's like, man, I missed out on so much time spending time with her, hanging out with her and doing that sort of stuff that like, I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
And I have an amazing wife. I have a great family. I have a great house. I'm super fortunate. I'm very lucky. The thing with this, though, it kind of relates to back to the larger thing is like for years, I've been in comedy like, I don't know, how old am I? 40? I don't know. We'll say
42?
Like, yeah, we'll say 12 years I've been in like consistently between acting and stand up and all this sort of stuff. And I haven't had a whole ton of successes in the business, right? But a couple years ago, it's going on almost 3 years ago, I quit drinking and I did this thing that my wife and I've talked about was like, get out of your own way. And I stopped doing a lot of the self-sabotage. I just got all this clarity. And like, I'd finally beat the final boss, which was me. It was like, oh, I'm finally out of my own way. 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, I did Gilda's Laugh Fest.
Wow.
You know, I had 40 dates on the books. I was featuring for Sergio.
Serge.
Yeah, I was featuring for Sergio at the end of last March. I was at this festival and I just like crushed this festival. I finally got on the good side of like the people who book like all these clubs and everything. I was going to start traveling more, featuring, got an agent, and then boom, it's like all gone. And it's like, I finally like defeated, and it's all circumstantial and it's all fake. People have so much worse that they're going through than being in the entertainment business. I know.
Do that to yourself. You're self-sabotaging right now.
No, I'm rationalizing how silly it is to be upset as a grown adult over a non-existent comedy career. But it was the thing where I felt like, man, it's like if I had already like made it, I probably wouldn't be as upset because it'd be like I have an accomplishment. Like the people who I know in my life or my family, and my aunt told my wife not to marry me the night of our wedding, night before our wedding, you know, because like he's a loser. He's not making any comedy. He's giving us fucked up his life or whatever. And it's like, you have no idea how much money I make from comedy. You have no idea like the scope of what I do in New York or whatever the case may be, but because I'm not on TV or whatever. So it was like, I felt like last year would have been the year that I would have had something like a signifier to be like, this is what this guy is.
Right.
And then everybody can shut the fuck up about like what I've done with my life and their judgments about it because we have this big judgmental family.
Right.
And it was like, God damn, it like was all taken away or whatever. I wouldn't say taken away, but it was just all just like evaporated.
So in your heart of hearts that you have a successful comedy career, that you're well known within the comedy community, that you do get booked, that you've been on professional stages that people dream about.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that you have a career and it's successful, as much as I joke that you don't.
I joke that I don't.
I know,
but I mean, like none of my friends back where I started comedy have shared a stage with Jim Gaffigan and Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, so what the fuck are you talking about? Stop being so goddamn hard on yourself and stop measuring against people that are just trying to tear you down.
Well, it wasn't only that, but I really wanted the money. That was. Let me tell you, home renovations aren't cheap.
They are not.
Yeah, and so, but it's like. And here's the upside to this, though, is like had that continuation of what I thought was happening was going to continue to go, I wouldn't have been around my wife the last year. And we grew so much as partners and as a couple this last year that I think long term, because comedy is an illusory sort of thing, long term, it's more beneficial for us than it was, and then had it not happened.
Well, it's more beneficial for you. There's a new study out by Yale that talks about how single women live a longer, healthier, more fruitful, economically sound life, and the male counterpart, if they're single when they're old, they die sooner. And they have feelings of loneliness and depression.
But man, it's fun. We joke about like what it was, because we came to the brink. I mean, it's not as if it's been all like the only reason that we have like
marriage is hard.
Right? Yeah. The only reason that it's gotten so great is because it got so bad. And my wife is, she'd joke about it. She's like, oh, what are you going to do? Go live in a studio apartment with nothing in it? I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Nothing. She loves stuff. And like, I am a minimalist. I want nothing. I'll sleep on the floor like a goddamn samurai.
That's what I think of when I see you, ninja.
Yeah. Like a Ronin.
A pregnant ninja holding a pillow in front of him. Like a security blanket.
It's my security pillow. Yep. And you're right though. It is because like, at least like I won't have the headache of like having to be responsible to another person. It was the joke, but I would be miserable. You would be. Yeah. The first 30 days after a breakup, the woman feels terrible. The guy feels great.
Right.
And then after those 30 days, the fortune's reversed. And the dudes are like, oh.
And it's forever.
Yeah. No, it really kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been in relationships before, going back to the other thing about the micro breakup or like the, you're talking about with your.
The ghosting? How that's like a micro.
Yeah, like the ghosting aspect about it. The last significant relationship the last two relationships that I had before I met my wife I found out in shitty ways that they were like done. And
explain, Lucy.
This one woman that I was involved with for a long time.
What's a long time to you?
A year.
Okay.
I mean, this is it's my early 30s. It was
to men in their early 30s, it's 10 years. Continue.
Yeah. And it was a year, and it was a year of like kind of like pretty intense like emotions and feelings behind it. And she had gotten back together with her ex, and I kind of like knew, but I found out after we stopped having sex, where I was like, why? I was like, I know you're hanging out with him again. I was like, are you sleeping with both of us? Or I was like, are you sleeping with him? And then she writes back, I'm not sleeping with both of you, which meant I'm not sleeping with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I get it now. And then, I mean, I wasn't the healthiest in that relationship either, so I kind of get it. But the whole thing was predicated on a bunch of false platitudes anyways. But then similarly, the next relationship that I had with somebody, it also ended that way too. They'd gone back with their ex-boyfriend.
Because people are cowards. Can I
Yeah.
just tell you that if you're going to cut the cord with someone, do it clean.
Yeah.
Just do it. Pull the Band-Aid off. I have zero problem telling people if I have an issue with them. I also have zero problem accepting if someone has an issue with me, the information, like, or if they want to break up with me or tell me anything. You just have to have no ego in these things and just not be selfish.
Right.
And I'm saying about the women that did this to you.
Yeah.
Give me their names.
This is where they live.
But I feel like men do this more often, where they don't want to make anybody upset, so they don't break up, and then they just start seeing other people, and then they hope that somehow solves the other problem instead of just clean it up.
Right. Well, the last one, so I mean, funnily enough, the last one, she went back to her old boyfriend, broke up with me, quit her job, moved to go be with him, and then he ended up cheating on her. And then, like, I don't know, we ran into each other a couple of times, like in the years after, and he was really shitty or whatever. And then she came to one of my shows after I was married, and then saw how happy I was being
They
married.
can smell it out
and
on
everything.
you.
Oh yeah, and then like the text messages started coming.
Oh,
like,
God.
I fucked up and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, you sure the fuck did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a queen. Okay.
Well, I mean, my wife would argue that she fucked up marrying me, but but no, it is a thing of like, you know, and I don't fault this person. I'm sure they're happy now, and I hope they're happy and everything, and you know, no ill will or whatsoever. I'm happy, but it's like, you know, just be honest
Yeah.
from the get go.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
Be kind. Be honest, but be tough.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I mean, like, it's tough. Like, my wife is sometimes afraid to, because she won't say something because she'll be like afraid to be so blunt about it, you know, because it might be taxing. But even to this day, she just doesn't want to like hurt somebody's feelings. But there's only, I mean, like, we're adults. You have to.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, you had to rip the Band-Aid off.
You're gonna eventually hurt everybody's feelings if you don't, you know, rip the Band-Aid off early.
Yeah.
It's really, it can be really painful. I wish men weren't cowards that's the name of this episode.
I wish they weren't.
Yeah, I actually like what's happening in comedy as far as I think
the people quitting.
Yes, so many people quitting. Also, I feel like the bullshit veil was lifted a little bit.
How so?
There were all these silent rules to things, and there was all this competition that doesn't exist, that doesn't need to exist. It was implemented by somebody, and like little lemmings, we followed.
Right.
Like the hierarchy, which I do think that there is something to having a little time under your belt and knowing how to be respectful and all the basic fundamental common rules. But then beyond that, it's like, you can't sit at this fucking table. It's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's real lunchroom vibe.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
It's like it's like a bunch of bullies that started out getting bullied when they were young, and then they're like, I'm going to become a comedy, so I'm going to have laughs out of tragedy, and then treat people like absolute dog shit. And I'm not into that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of offshoots of that for sure. The interesting aspect about it though too is that we've now never been in more of a time where you can just kind of do things on your own.
Yeah.
It's not as if there's just 3 late night programs. People don't even watch late night anymore. I mean, like, more people watch. I was just talking about this with a friend of mine because one of his like agents, one of his managers, like co-clients or whatever, is going to be on late night. And this comic has a huge following online. It's not even that put it blunt, this comic can't even follow me on a bar show. But they
Look
have.
at what Rob Delaney did.
Oh, yeah.
He became Twitter famous and then went, I mean, he's an actor 100%.
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
L.A.
Oh, whew, that special was rough.
Yeah.
And that late night spot, also rough.
Very, very bad. They scrubbed it from the internet.
They did?
Yeah. But, the name of, but the reason that these people do get that sort of thing is because of that. And it's like, well, if you're funny, figure out how to get your metrics up. It's a different game now. And you can't really don't hate the player, hate the game sort of crap. And it's like, I do hate that aspect of the game, but what am I going to do? It's either quit or
That's
adapt.
a full world machine. That's not even just comedy related.
Right, absolutely. That's anything. And the thing that sucks about comedy, and which I'm kind of glad for in a lot of ways, is that I got out of my original career path, my professional corporate career or whatever, because I wanted to go into entertainment because I thought it was going to be meritocracy based and not have anything to do with how much money somebody has or how many connections they have or what college they went to, because that's what happens in the corporate world. Well, as it turns out, the entertainment is just another corporate world.
Yep.
And so, I mean, because
with zero boss.
Oh yeah, geez.
And we just run wild. We're feral mean girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bitch about everybody. I'm really not. There are just a few spoiled apples that can rot the whole bunch. But for instance, I had a comic on here on this show, and he shared that he was on it in one of his Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And then I went to go tell him something, and I saw him delete it from his story immediately.
Really?
Yeah, he shared it. I liked it. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's kind and generous. It takes zero money. It takes zero time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And then he unshared it. Like, he waited for me to see it, and I liked it. And then as soon as I did, he unshared it. And then I called him right the fuck out. I go, what kind of horse shit is this? And he goes, well, I just don't like to clog up my stories. I go, who do you think you are? No one's watching your stories.
Yeah.
Just like, how important do you think that you are?
I've sat and looked at my phone on the train and had to just sit through, like, some people post like 80 stories.
Yes.
And like when I'm scrolling through or whatever, and I see what looks like just a whole bunch of decimal points at the top of the screen because there's 300 stories on there, then I know to just scroll through. But people who have fans, those people will sit through all those stories, and they'll be like, oh, I might take a listen to this, especially if there's a link or whatever the case may be.
Also, I've been reading this great book called Give and Take. It's by Adam Gant. It's about basically that he uses George Myers, who is the writer for The Simpsons, like the most famous writer for The Simpsons. Why do I keep calling it Simpsons?
The Simpsons. You're like the symptoms. I'm like, wait.
Simpsons,
yeah.
Amazing writer. Killer, but was very generous with the young writers that would come on. He would start an idea and let them work it out, and then he would put their name on it and not his. And everybody knew that he would always help. He would always refer. He started a whole publication and would put people on. It was insane, the amount of generosity that he had. And then he had ultimate success after that. And I look at the other side of the spectrum. I'm like, you want to be selfish and do some shady shit? It's going to come back.
Right.
It always does.
It does, yeah. I mean, the scary part about the times nowadays is that we've all made mistakes, and there's a way to address that. There's a way to talk about it, and there's a certain morality behind it, but it's like the unforgivable nature.
Mm-hmm.
My wife talked about this thing of like, you can't hold people accountable to knowledge that you have that they don't yet.
Aww, I love her.
But once you have the knowledge, you are accountable to
100%.
it. Right, yeah. And so there are people with plenty of this knowledge out there, and yet they still make these decisions. knowing what they know, like about their own past or about their own future intentions. And so those are the people that are the pieces of shit. However, dragging somebody like that girl who got fired from Teen Vogue, did you read about that?
No.
It was like the head editor of Teen Vogue, a young African-American woman, if I'm not mistaken, was fired because when she was 17, she made some like problematic tweets or something like that, you know? And it's like, all right, dig into anybody's past, especially when they're a kid, but you're now taking like a young woman, who's like worked very hard and is like a person who you want in this position because they have a voice that is probably not what you're used to hearing, and you're going to remove her from it because of something she did when she was a kid. It's kind of jacked up.
That is a little jacked up, and people change, and people can change and evolve, and
I don't want people to read what I wrote when I was 37. Much less like 17, you know? And like I think back of like through the prism of BLM and Me Too and all that stuff, and I cringe when I think about some of the things that I've said in the past, like just even jokingly or whatever, like when I was in my early 20s or whatever, like, and it's like, oh man, I sounded like a real dickhead. Or like I probably sounded like, even though I'm not an insensitive person, I came across as an insensitive person because I didn't take into consideration said person's feelings about something.
But there has to be a point where I'm a sympathizer. I don't know why I have to preface everything, but there has to be a point that we can joke about stuff. Not to a point where it hurts anyone's feelings horrifically. I mean, there are fun roasting jokes that might be taken as like, if you're feeling sensitive that day, you might feel a little kind of way. But normal, healthy circumstances, you're through the trauma, joke about it. Who cares? Who the fuck cares?
Right, exactly. And, or, I mean, jokes often, some of the best jokes often are like the worst sort of things you can say.
Yeah.
Because it's a joke. It's like, of course, we don't really think this or feel this way. We're saying it because that would be the worst thing imaginable. Wouldn't that be funny? The worst thing that ever happened? It would be kind of funny. I mean, that's the irony of comedy or whatever. I think we have too much like analytics on comedy at this point.
I think so too. I've also been grappling with the feminist movement a little bit. And
me too.
You know, I read the rhetoric and it says that it's because of the patriarchy that women are competitive. Okay, there were only a few opportunities available to us, but it's not because of the patriarchy that we're competitive. We are innately competitive. We try to compete for the best suitor, for the best producer, for like it's just animals. It's mammals in general. Yeah. It's every animal on the planet is competitive, and we're just one of them. So I'm like, that we have to stop saying that. Also, I'm tired of I'm like, can we just fucking act now and like we're equal instead of complaining? I know that's really probably small-minded and annoying and very, what's her blonde name? Tori, what's her name from Fox News? But
Tommy Lahren?
Tommy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's very esque, but I'm tired of the we're victims bullshit. We're not victims. We're fucking strong.
Right. And not everything, even if it's a joke, is an affront to feminism.
Yes.
You know, or it's also one way to show that you're empowered is to be cool with the jokes.
Just be cool.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I hear a lot of jokes that are, I mean, open up Twitter and all the jokes are at the expense of like white guys. It's like, all right, cool. I mean, like, some of them are pretty funny because they're pretty accurate, and it's like I can see the objective hilarity.
Some are tired. Can we move forward?
Some are tired.
Some are very tired. I think the anti-white male, and I'm going to say this even though
animosity
has gone a little far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't find that we're going to come to any sort of resolution by further dividing us.
Right.
So
the last summer,
as two white people sit here and discuss.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, as a white guy, I completely agree. No, I understand that. Last summer I was talking about it with a friend of mine. It's just this is probably gonna sound bad too, but I mean, like, whatever. A lot of the people who are like Trump supporters and stuff and everything like that, not a lot. Some were economically impacted really badly over the last 20 years by decisions that were made outside of their control. Auto industry collapse, housing market collapse, endless wars. Sending your kids off as a poor Midwesterner, one of the only ways I could get out of Ohio was to go join the military. Just disaffected people. Black Lives Matter. Poor, marginalized, historically disenfranchised people. These are two groups of like poor people who, regardless of the circumstances of how they got to where they are both like hurting in some capacity. And instead of looking at what's the commonality between the two groups of like what's really happening, we just look at the things that divide everybody.
Yes.
And
which is not productive.
Right.
Or constructive.
I mean, it's really a lot of this stuff results from, in my opinion, based on all the things I've read, a lot of economic issues. It's been proven time and again, racism, sexism, egoism, all this sort of stuff is on the rise while the economics of any given nation start to plummet. And all the divisiveness.
Look at all the shootings that are happening right now.
Right.
Everyone is at their wits' end financially. Nothing's still opening. And people are going insane. They were left alone. You were on the verge. You're left alone with their own thoughts for so long that they just went out and seven mass shootings last week.
Seven last week?
Seven.
Jeez.
Seven. And a mass shooting is considered 4 people shot and above.
That's sad.
Yes.
That's so sad. And everybody's like very quick to put the label on like to why it is and what happened. The one that happened yesterday in Boulder, Colorado, or last night or whatever, everybody's been like, it's the terrible, like it's a lone wolf white guy,
Did they say why?
It was a Muslim guy.
It was a Muslim guy.
Yeah, it was a Muslim guy who I haven't read all the things yet. And that's why I haven't given any like reactionary like takes on it, because as soon as it happened, you open up Twitter or any social media outlet and they've already, even though there's no mugshot, even though there's no details, everybody's already created who did it, why they did it, and what the result of the problems are.
Did you see what the NRA tweeted right after it happened?
No.
Okay, continue. I'm going to try and find it.
But, and then, it turns out that, everybody was wrong about it. And we don't know all the circumstances as to why this happened, but everybody was very quick to point the finger as to why. And I feel like we've all been conditioned to do that. Even I was like, great, another incel white neckbeard guy got mad and shot up a theater or whatever the case, or a shopping center.
Thank God it was a Muslim.
Not one of my boys. All right. Which, listen, I know so many Muslims in comedy. It could have been one of my boys. So, but it wasn't. And it's wrong regardless of how it happened, the circumstance of how it happened. And the Atlanta shooting was like a lot of religious fundamentalism. And it might be the same case with the Boulder situation. And so instead of looking at like, well, these are two guys and what's the commonality between it, it's like, it has to be race. It has to be. It's like, well, it could be that they're sexually frustrated because they're fucking losers.
Yes. Yeah.
They probably didn't have dads.
Incels. Incels are dangerous.
Yeah.
You need to drain your sperm. That's what you need to do. Go out, touch yourself.
What?
Yeah, it's insane. A lot of incels are very violent.
Yeah. What does the NRA say?
I had to do it.
NRA is probably like, we take full responsibility and we won't.
Oh yeah. So right after, where is it?
The NRA is definitely a propaganda machine where they're like, they have to defend guns no matter the situation because then it turns in their opinion.
Within 1 minute of the news coming out about the shooting, within minutes, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah. Well, they probably didn't know he was Muslim. So they're probably like, well, we'll delete that tweet.
oh, cool of you guys to take time of your personally enriched to show you twaddle. Ooh wee. And then people are like, people are dead because of guns. Well, yeah, that's what usually kills people. Is the guns part.
Right.
It's really hard to kill somebody with a knife, you know?
There's a lot of stabbings in London. I'd rather be shot with a gun.
Did you have to do knife training and...
No.
Oh, it's hard. I mean, think about...
No, they didn't want me anywhere near that. The knife training would have ended with me falling on top of one, for sure. I was a firefighter, so I'm not a gun guy in that sense. I talk about, like, in principle, I like guns, but I don't own any. I don't have any. I never go to the range. I was always, I'll go into a burning building before I sign up to be a cop or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, well, the other aspect about all of this, though, is like, this is a message I really came up with during the pandemic is, quit listening to comedians for anything other than jokes. Get your opinions from an educated person. Comics are clowns. I'm the smartest dumb person from my hometown. You should never take me seriously unless I'm talking about my own personal trauma or bullshit or whatever, and just listen to like the dumb jokes that I have.
Also, most people, including comics, live in an echo chamber and read the same shit over and over and don't get a proper perspective of the entire story.
Right, yeah.
So you need to dig deep. Like, as soon as I read anything, any sort of headline, I will research the headline myself and then go into a huge rabbit hole and learn all the different sides. And if I don't feel like I got to the end of the information, I don't form an opinion.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, jury's still out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even then, and I'll even go so far as to say, like, I'll form an opinion. I still won't necessarily share it. I won't, because a lot of people are so quick to share their opinions. They know everything. They're the authoritarians on everything. And it's like, I still don't know if I'm 100% right. I don't talk, like, I'm Christian, for lack of a better term, but I still don't talk about it a whole lot because while I may have a certain level of faith, I know that not everybody else does. And it's not my place to judge. It's not my place to, question somebody else's sort of thing in that sense. I know that's like what they preach in the Bible, all that sort of stuff, like go out and do more or whatever. But it's like, if you're just like a good person and people want to ask you, hey, you're a person I look up to, what's the framework that guides you to be a good person? I'll tell you. But I don't want to get in anybody's face and be like, you should do this, because I sure as shit am not a perfect person.
Yes, everyone's flawed.
Right.
That's what makes us human.
Right, yeah.
I also agree with you. I think I also am Christian, and God gave us free will, and that free will allows us to make decisions. But it's my own free will that I'm in control of. I'm not in control of anybody else's. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I will help you if you ask me.
I'm in control of my own free will until my wife tells me I'm not. I don't even talk about it with her because she wasn't raised in church, and so she kind of doesn't get it so much. But like, I mean, she's respectful of it.
I do like the hope part of it. Like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, there's no dark hole.
Oh, I still think there's a dark hole.
Of course you do.
I just I like the golden rule. I read the Bible that I read the most is the Jefferson Bible. You ever hear of it? I know it's from the Jeffersons. Moving on up to heaven. It's Thomas Jefferson took all the acts that Jesus didn't focus on any of the supernatural aspects of it, and just put it just took out all the parts of like, these are the good deeds that he did, these are the things that he said. It's basically 130 something pages of like, do unto others.
So the Cliff Notes.
Well, yeah, it's like, without all the fire and brimstone of the Bible. I grew up Catholic, so it's, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Get ready for purgatory, bitch, because you jerked off. And I took communion without being baptized. Like, I'm pretty much...
Whoa, you're fucked.
I am so screwed within that pagan religion. But it was just like the golden rule of like, do unto others sort of thing. It's like, just be a decent person to other people, help
Yes.
out where you can,
Yeah.
you know, sort of thing. That's the best exemplifier of God.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
I did air quotes for people who can't.
That aren't watching this
That aren't
audio
watching-
recording.
That aren't watching us in our exercise
Gear.
Yeah.
I know. I have so much gear on.
You are geared up.
I am I'm like geared.
You are so geared.
Well, it's good having you back.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're going to be on Sergio's podcast, which is now on the Be Frank Network.
I am.
It's very exciting. It's called DBS Podcast, so make sure to check it out on BeFrankNetwork.com. Where can we find you? You have a podcast also.
Listen to the Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review. We we're a true crime podcast.
Oh my god.
Where I didn't want to do any research. And so we just bring comics on. They talk about like a petty crime they've been convicted of. This week we on Thursday's episode we had Tyler Richardson talking about reckless operation of your vehicle.
DUI?
No, that's a felony. No, these are like misdemeanors, like seatbelt violations. It's like we're like for the longest time we're just doing the podcast. We're just hanging out, being bros, and it's like, oh, this is stupid.
You gotta have a point.
We gotta have a point to this. So we talk about like our most intense episode was jaywalking. We talked a lot about jaywalking and like what it means to be in the nation state. But anyways, so yeah, and then we review the crime and we rate it.
I got pulled over for having my cell phone up, like changing the music through a light. And he was like, cell phone use. And so there's no points on your license for that. So I didn't even register as like something I should take care of. And then my license was suspended because I didn't pay it. And then I missed the court. So I hired this attorney to get the case reopened. Mm-hmm. There's a point to this. And this was so long ago, California days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago. And hired him to reopen the case, got a notice, have a new court date. I get to go in because there's different laws out there. Forget about that day also. Completely slips my mind.
Of course.
The lawyer he was passing by that courtroom, saw my name on the docket, didn't see me in the room. So he went in, fought the case, won for me, didn't take $1.
No kidding.
Fast forward 11 years later, he messages me on Instagram and he's like, hey, I had your number in my phone. He's like, did I represent you once? And I was like, I don't know. Were we successful? Like
You're right. Yeah.
I had no idea. And then because I'd never met him in person.
Yeah.
And he was like, he goes, dope charge, right? Dope. And I was like, that's not. Nope, definitely not me. And then then I got freaked out because he told me what my phone number was. And I was like, did I bang you?
Is this attorney-client privileges?
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah. It was when I was really forgetful.
Did he charge you?
Nothing.
Nothing?
He just asked me for a good Yelp review. I was like, I would have given that to you for free.
He was doing pro boner work.
Dude. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think you should be using this. Plus, he was a really bad flirt after that. And I was like, well, I shut it down also. So I think he was like trying to walk the line. But then I was like, nope, that wasn't me. Nope. Well, thanks so much for doing what you did.
Right. I appreciate you. Now get the fuck out of my life.
I know. Why you're
free of charge.
Thanks a lot. I'll write you another Yelp review. Okay, so check out Bushwick Bears.
Petty Crime Review. Follow me at Hump Derek.
Share your petty crimes with Derek.
DM
that
me.
would be so fun.
It would be great. Go ahead, please.
And follow the network at Be Frank Network. Also follow me at Mara Merrick. And love you guys, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.